Niko Cantor'la birlikteyiz. Niko Cantor, Golazo'da, Amerika'da CBS'te spor yorumculuğu, futbol yorumculuğu ve muhabirliği yapıyor. Özellikle son dönemde Türkiye'de de paylaşımlarıyla Galatasaray Liverpool maçı çok popüler oldu. Hem kendisinin yorumlarını alacağım. Nasıl bir reaksiyon acaba Amerika'da CBS'te oluştu veya taraftarlarda? Niko'ya teşekkür edip hemen konuşmamıza başlayalım. Nico, good morning. It's a morning for you, an afternoon for us. Thank you for joining us, and I'm very I'm happy to having you. How are you at these times?
Özgür, çok teşekkürler. Thank you for the invitation to the show. Listen, I'm very good. I'm very excited, especially for the second leg. Galatasaray going to another historic European cathedral of football, which is Anfield, and it's bound to be an exciting match.
So we know there's no huge football heritage in United States, but it's developing years and years, and now there will be a World Cup season in this summer in United States, and your show is also in CBS in United States. How was the reaction after Galatasaray Liverpool game? Also, you can mention about Galatasaray Juventus game. I know you're talking in the shows about how is the chance of Galatasaray, and sometimes you and your friends did some comments about the away performance against Juventus. You thought it's a pure performance, but in general, how American people see Galatasaray performance in Champions League in this season?
Özgür, listen, I do think that within the United States, for our own football, the culture is developing and it's stronger than ever, but there's still a long way to go. But I do think there is this beautiful heritage of immigration, because there's so many people from so many different parts of the world that bring their football culture to the United States. And that has produced a very unique football culture here in America, because here everyone watches so much football all around the leagues. So Champions League, people know very well what's going on in other big leagues in Europe. I live right now in New York, so I really felt the Turkish diaspora here in America really be proud for Galatasaray and everything that they've pulled off. I remember when I arrived to study in New York, this was like 14 years ago now. I became friends with one of my best friends. He's Turkish. He's from Istanbul, and we went to a Turkish restaurant to watch Galatasaray Fenerbahce, where Schneider scores the both goals. It ended up being 2-0 from long distance, if you remember that day.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's how I fell in love with Turkish football. So I've been connected to Turkish football for a very long time now, and I understand how here in America everyone is wowed by the passion that Galatasaray supporters bring to these stadiums. I support Boca Juniors. My team is from Argentina. My family is from Argentina. And they say for Boca Juniors, Boca is great because of its people. Yes, Boca has won many international titles. Galatasaray has also won the UEFA Cup in 2000 and many, many Turkish titles. But what makes Galatasaray big, I believe, is the people of Galatasaray. And why do we still say welcome to hell all the way since 1993? It's not just because Manchester United showed up and was unable to win. It's because so many teams go to the Ali Sami Yen and struggle to win for a particular reason, and that's because of its people. They make it such an intimidating, incredible place to go. So America has rediscovered Galatasaray and their fans and how much they can push. I often say on the show, because I think there is another similarity here. In England and in other leagues in Europe, you see what happens on the pitch first, and then the crowd reacts. But at Galatasaray, it's different. The crowd pushes and influences what happens on the field. That is truly the 12th man. That is something truly unique, that it doesn't happen in many football places around the world, where the people can push so much that it influences what happens on the pitch.
Yeah, you said a great thing. United States rediscover Galatasaray again, or maybe they get an eye on Turkish football. This is what we like also. And what do you think about the second game? Also, we know that it wouldn't be easy. If we compare the second game of Juventus Galatasaray, we saw some poor performance at the second half, but at least Galatasaray came to the last 16. And there is still a big hope, I think, in the fans that they could go to the quarterfinals. What's your expectation? What did you see in Liverpool game? At my side, I saw a different type of defense at Galatasaray, maybe the best defense performance of this year's Champions League game. I don't know because of Liverpool's position, the performance or not, but I think Okan Buruk and the team made a really strong and solid defense performance. Maybe we can just put the first 5 or 6 minutes in another part, because first 5 or 6 minutes Liverpool did really good pressure on Galatasaray on an away game. What's your opinion?
It's going to be very difficult to go to Anfield and walk away with a victory. But Galatasaray, all they need is hope. You mentioned defensively. I think that's going to be the key for Galatasaray, because I'm not at all worried offensively, because Victor Osimhen is one of the best strikers in the world, and I know that he can resolve a game or a situation by himself and create a moment of magic. He is at that world-class level, right? But defensively, number one, Galatasaray doesn't have Davinson Sanchez because of suspension, right? Which
Yeah.
I believe it might be a blessing in disguise, because I think Davinson Sanchez this season particularly has been a little bit shaky. He hasn't been at the top of his level. So maybe perhaps that single moving into the center back position and having
Maybe.
Salah as the right back, it's going to force Okan Buruk to adjust. And I believe that if Galatasaray is very robust defensively at times throughout the season, especially in Europe, they've shown to be this very stretched team, especially if they're out on attack. And a lot of teams have exploited that space in behind. They've looked unorganized in transition. And Galatasaray needs to make sure that they are very defensively sound. And on top of that, they need to be mentally stable, because I think in the second leg against Juve, they showed a mental fragility that 99 times out of 100, it would have eliminated them from the Champions League. But they were able to get over the line. Even Okan Buruk said it to us in our post-game show, and Osimhen as well, that they weren't happy with the performance. They were happy with the result, that they progressed into the next round after Juventus, but the performance wasn't great. Galatasaray almost unraveled. And I think that's a learning lesson. And if they use that as a learning lesson to psychologically be locked in for 90 minutes or more, they can walk away with what I believe is still an upset. I still think that just because of the individual quality, Liverpool with a 1-goal deficit is still the favorite in the second leg. But Galatasaray is a club that is made for moments like this, to go away where they actually haven't been. Galatasaray away in the Champions League has not been good historically, but with a lead, you never know. And Galatasaray can pull off the impossible.
Also, you mentioned about the tifo that Galatasaray fans did too, Victor Osimhen. And I know that you are very keen on the fans, what their culture is, what they did in the games also as a Boca Juniors fan. What do you want to say about that tifo also? I have never been see a tifo like that. Maybe to Messi about his grandmother's loss, maybe Luis Enrique after the last year's Champions League final about his lost daughter. But there are only 3 or 4 moments I just remember, because generally tifos about fights, war, how we are and how you are think, or telling about some things again, UEFA decisions. What do you want to say about that, Tifo? Also, Osimhen really touched by that Tifo.
And that probably motivated him too to perform
Yeah,
in the match. It's so smart, it's so creative, and I think it's a special type of connection that Galatasaray fans want to form with their players, because I think Galatasaray are very fortunate to have a player like Osimhen, who was in this situation where he wanted to leave Napoli and go to a top Premier League team, a top club in the world. And because of perhaps what he was demanding in a contract, XYZ, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what the story is, but there's something there. He ended up at Galatasaray. And when a lot of people thought it was a stepping stone, or maybe like a holding pattern before he moved on to a, a bigger club in the sense of European ambitions. Don't get me wrong. Now all the Galatasaray fans are going to say that,
yeah.
but you guys understand what I mean. Victor Osimhen found a home where he was loved, where he was able to play his football and not regress. So this league that in Europe perhaps has this perception as retirement league has put together a team that's able to compete in Europe, that's able to beat Tottenham Hotspur, that's able to beat Liverpool, that's able to compete with the biggest clubs in all of Europe. And at the helm, you have this world-class striker. So imagine the special connection that was forged between the fans and how grateful they are for Victor Osimhen to hit such an emotional nerve in his heart and to pay so much respect. I know that everyone was anticipating this tifo about Victor Osimhen, but no one could imagine what it was going to be. And it was about his mother and all the sacrifices that she made, and her passing, and him being able to leave his town and achieve the great things that he has achieved as a Nigerian football and arrive in Galatasaray and keep on making history. It's easy to make history with Real Madrid. It's easy to make history with Chelsea. It's easy to make history with Juventus. I think it's a little bit more difficult to make European history with Galatasaray. But when all the pieces are put together in the right place, as Galatasaray often finds a way to do, Galatasaray does the unbelievable, and Victor Osimhen continues to make history with Galatasaray.
Yeah, I think the fans hope too. And I think it's a great honor to work with your commentators like Trino Henry, like Mike Richards, like Jamie Carragher. And you guys really make a really good job at international level of broadcasting. I admire your shows also.
Thank you.
And Jamie Carragher, also we know he played in Liverpool in years and years, and he's a Liverpool fan. And sometimes he can be a little bit annoying to other fans also. And he gave a percent before the tour, before first Liverpool game, and he told that I saw Galatasaray at Juventus game, and I think if they will play again this stage, 99% Galatasaray Liverpool will go on quarterfinals. After the first game, he changed his mind a little bit, and he gave 2% to Galatasaray. What's your opinion?
All Galatasaray needs is 1%. That's all they need. That sliver of hope for a Turkish team to pull off what many people say is impossible serves as such a motivating factor. I've seen very few clubs in the world that go into these circumstances as underdogs and truly believe that the home crowd can push them towards a result, that their players can pull off the perfect performance. Like I said before, I do think still only with a 1-0 lead, Liverpool perhaps are the favorites to go through because their crowd is also magnificent. It is a special place, Anfield. But I think 1% was maybe the emotional aspect for Jamie, who is so synonymous with Liverpool, who I think knows the game very, very well, and who has won the Champions League before and understands what's needed from a Champions League night. If there ever is a time, though, to beat Liverpool, it's now. It wasn't last season with Arne Slot's championship winning side. Maybe not one of those club teams that would tear you apart. This Liverpool team has deficiencies, and Galatasaray needs to know when and how to exploit them. And if you get a second goal, it's a matter of staying strong and not abandoning your principles. What I wish for Galatasaray, if they get that second goal and they're up 2-0, it's not to defend for dear life and allow the pressure to come. It's about trying to control the game. And I felt like against Juventus, because of perhaps the psychological factors, that hurt the footballing aspect of things, where Sara wasn't able to control the game as he usually does, right? I want to see the ball flow through the feet between Torreira and Sara and get Burak or Nolang involved. Sorry, I said Burak. Barish, get him involved. Have a little bit more control and bring down the temperature. I think Galatasaray, I'm not sure why, they like playing with their emotions at their peak. Get caught into this very passionate game of football where it's back and forth. Maybe in a final, that's okay. Maybe in the Turkish Super League, because of Galatasaray's quality, that's okay. But I think in a European second leg where you need to be a little bit more wise in the way that you control the game, or perhaps have moments of control, because I think it's going to be absolutely impossible to control a game 90 minutes at Anfield. But the game will offer opportunity for Galatasaray to, instead of go into fifth gear, go into third gear. Bring it down a little bit, Bring the temperature, put some ice on the situation, control things so that the desperation grows on the Liverpool side of things and not the Galatasaray side of things. Galatasaray do not need to be desperate. They are in the lead. And I think against Juve, they showed desperation way too quickly. And that should not happen for Galatasaray again in the second leg with a lead if they wish to go on to the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
We hope, and we will see. I also appreciate it to you to join us, and I see that you are really have a big knowledge about the Galatasaray, and I also know that you have knowledge about Fenerbahce this year, which teams attend on the European level. You have really good thoughts and information about our football. Thank you, Nico. I hope I will see you maybe at United States at World Cup, or maybe you will come to Istanbul, Turkey in a Champions League game in future. Thank you for joining us.
Hopefully, maybe quarterfinals of the Champions League, I can go to Rams Park. And hey, you never know. I hope Turkey qualifies to the World Cup and we get a United States versus Turkey match at the World Cup, and we can keep on talking football then.
Yeah. I think you will there, huh?
I will.
Yeah, you will there. See you. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you joining us.